everybody. Welcome back to another episode of 6'4" and More. We still hold our #1 rating in the Nelson ratings, even after the Jeff episode last week. So very proud of that. Had a great Easter break. Great to be home with family and spend an extra day at home. And mine was really good. How about yours, Jeff?
Yeah, mine was good too. We had my family over. And you know, afterwards I got to thinking, there's only been 2 times in my life that I've actually cried. The first time was when my dad died. I was really young and it hurt a lot. The second time I really cried was when I asked my mom if I was adopted, and she said no.
Was that on Easter?
So I want to turn it over to Dave now to introduce our guests for this week.
Well, welcome to another week, and we have a special guest here today that most everybody knows for the political commentary that you do, but today we want to learn a little bit more about you. I'd like to introduce Scott Faughn, the simple West Butler County hillbilly.
Yeah, that's right.
Welcome to the show.
West Butler County Hillbilly. Very nice to be here. Thank you very much. What's up to everybody? I'm very glad to be here with these folks. Visiting on Thursday mornings. Nice.
Early Thursday mornings. So again, the show is talking about, you came up with 6 items.
Oh, yep.
4 of them are truths, 2 of them are lies. So if you want to read through your list, and we'll tell you who we picked.
All right, my 6, starting off with number 1. I grew up in a town called Stringtown, Missouri. Number 2, I'm a licensed professional wrestling referee.
Okay.
Number 3, I once set the North American record for drinking Jaeger bombs in a 2-hour period. Number 4, I once saw Ashley Bax whip the ass of a 6'4" dude at Spectators. So you're familiar with 232?
Yes.
It used to be a really rundown dive, my kind of place, dive bar. And some dude was talking smack to Ashley, and I mean, it was interesting. I was once elected the youngest mayor in the history of Poplar Bluff, and to be fair, they've elected nothing but old people since. And I once saw Justin Brown read a bill from start to finish.
Very good.
Huh.
So how did the votes come out?
Okay.
Well, we wrote our names on the ones that we thought were lies. Donnie and I both thought that you were probably not a professional wrestling referee.
Wrong. I got the license. So what happened was, my first newspaper, and we sold a lot of advertising to bars. And so they were having a wrestling event. And they said, oh, you were the mayor, you want to be the referee? I'm like, yeah, I do. And so you have to get a license for that. I mean, all the dumb things the government does. You have to have a license to referee a professional fake wrestling. I mean, you talk about red tape. And then I was in the back, and they were taping promos, so I cut a promo on Kennett. I was like, I was the mayor of a real town, not some crap town like Kennett. There's no hills and the water stands. And so they said, do you want to be the commissioner? I'm like, of course I do. So I go to Kennett, and I tape this like thing in the ring. And I get him so stirred up, this dude charges the ring. And they don't have very good security. So this guy gets, the security guard, instead of like doing security, he just pushes the guy down. The guy hits his shoulder on the ring and breaks it and thought he's having a heart attack. And I don't know what you're supposed to do. I'm looking back at the dude, like, what? He goes, keep going. So I'm like, look at you can't even get in the ring, you web-toed flatlander. And the guy, they thought he was having a heart attack. And I don't know what you're supposed to do. So it turns out he just broke his shoulder, and they were sued and went out of business that night. I never had another event. I was going to win the title in Cape Girardeau, which, as you know, in the Boot Hill, we all hate Cape Girardeau. I was going to talk so much smack, but they went out of business. But I'll tell you right now, if they would have had one more show and I would have won the title, I was never coming back. And I'd be wearing that title right now this morning. I would have walked into this podcast with the WWCW championship on my shoulder. That's actually true.
So Donnie doesn't think that you set the record for drinking Jaeger bombs in a 2-hour period.
Yeah, that's also wrong. Totally did. At a place called, what was that? It wasn't Scooters 2, out by Lake Road, by T Highway. In a 2-hour period, drink 47. And so the last thing I remember was they make a Jaeger bomb. It's got some Red Bull and some Jägermeister. It's in a little plastic cup. And so the last thing I remember is I was trying to get to 50 because the record was 42, and I got to 42, and I was still kind of rolling. And I remember I can hear the rattle of the plastic on the bar as I went straight back. And I remember I heard the clatter, and I woke up at the bartender's house the next morning, and I was like, I've got to go to the hospital. I mean, I'm dying. I can't function. But I pulled through. Being German, you got to do that.
Have you had Jaeger since?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got back on the horse. Took me a minute. Took me a minute. When you throw up Jaeger, it's all orange too. I grew up in Stringtown. That is the town I grew up in. Long storied history in West Butler County. Okay, actually she didn't. The guy was about 5'11". He was not 6'4". And then, Brown has never read a bill from start to finish. If anybody says they've seen it themselves, they're lying about that. But no, my two are, the guy wasn't quite 6'4", and then Brown has never read a bill from start to finish. Ever. I don't believe that ever happened.
Tell us about being elected mayor to Poplar Bluff.
It was super fun. So I actually threw pitch baseball, and I got to meet my state representative, Mark Richardson. He gave us a proclamation for winning a title, and it was I just thought Mark was in Congress. I guess I knew there was a state legislature, but I'm in high school, college. I could have told you anything about any of it. But Mark was this larger than life guy. He wasn't 6'4", but you'd have thought so, right? He could make you feel like you're the only person in the world. Mark just had just so much charisma, and I didn't really like politics as much as I liked him, and so he let me hang out with him and do work a little bit for him, and I just thought Mark was the coolest, and from there kind of got me into it, and then when he was term limited, I thought, well, I'll just run for mayor, and of course he was like, that's a bad idea, Faughn, that's not gonna work, and but it ended up being very fortunate and worked, and we built a highway while I was mayor. We actually taxed ourselves to build a highway that never touched the city limits. It connected 67 from a place called Cherokee Pass just south of Fredericktown down to Poplar Bluff. It's built the highway out of town. I always tell them, I built the highway out of town and I took it.
And that's what you all did there is still talked about around the state. I mean, that was Poplar Bluff stepped up, and pretty soon that's going to be 4-lane all the way to Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Which
Some
is-
work that you did.
Well, it's going to be huge for the Poplar Bluff and Southeast Missouri region, and Scott needs a lot of credit for getting that started back in the day.
Well, I think it's kind of, our trade area has evolved over time, and it really has started to look more to the south and to that 53 corridor down through Campbell. That has really become Poplar Bluffs. If you look at, they have data on everything now. So the data of people that shop, I always thought it would be north. We'd be pulling Piedmont, Silva folks in. But the truth is, we've started to pull folks up. And that infrastructure, I think, is only going to make that more readily available.
I think you're right.
Well, we're all visitors to Jefferson City. You're a local now.
Yep.
What is your go-to place for a restaurant and go-to place for a cocktail?
Oh, High Street Pub.
Okay.
Casey will always want to take me to fancy places. She's very elitist. You know how they are in the Leadville. But I like High Street Pub.
Okay.
They're not Christmas lights because they're up all year round. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so I'm a High Street Pub. They also have chips. Always, Casey's like, where do you want to go to dinner? I was like, High Street Pub. Like, they got chips. Chips there. As far as dinner, I love 232. I love the Grand. I like to eat at Bones also. Bones has a good, especially for lunch. Yeah, it's in the alley. They're right between the parking garage, or my building is a parking garage. Madison's has a great thing called the Burnt. Love it. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a concert. If you're hungry and hungover like I am this morning, Era's Pizza has a tremendous buffet to get your day back focused and on the right track. I used to love Alexandros, but now it's become Duke's.
Yeah.
But TG's, the little bar in the basement of that place, still serve you a lot. If you ask Alex, they can make you about whatever they used to make at Alexandros. The older places I like. But really, the truth is, I like to walk from I got an apartment up my office. Really, I like to walk from there in case I drink too much. Then I can just kind of walk back. I ain't gonna drive.
Sure.
On Scott's show that he does every week, he's real famous for one question: who won the week?
Yeah.
So we're gonna flip that to you this week. Now we're putting you on the spot, and I'll make it even harder. We don't talk politics.
Well, I was gonna say Brian Seitz, and I'll tell you why. It's because every time he comes on my show, I ask him who won the week. He says, I won the week. And I think that's awesome, and I absolutely love it. I'll tell you one, I guess it is sort of political. The Senate Appropriations staff, they do a great job. You guys do some sort of political statement every year, and the Senate has to actually write a budget. And so they do it's a lot of work. You all take 4 months to write a budget. They get about 3 weeks, and that's obviously very staff intensive. And Adam and his crew, this is their time of year that they really shine. They work very hard. I got a chance to visit with Rusty Black this week.
I saw that.
I could sit and talk to Rusty for 2 hours. We said we'd do 30, and he said, no, we can keep going. And I was like, well, and it's happened to me, but he had stuff to do. I didn't have as much, but I always love visiting with Rusty. Rusty's that dude that if you don't like him, it's probably you. But I'll give you another winner of the week. I'm not trying to throw shade on our friends here, but the entire state voted for Kehoe, every media market except for one, St. Louis. And Kehoe has decided he's going to focus on the place he didn't win. I don't think it's for political reasons. I think it's because he actually thinks that we don't like to admit it, but where we're from, if we're going to build 67, St. Louis pays part of that freight. And that's just the math, and it's just the truth. And I think St. Louis has made a series of decisions. Well, I mean, part of it was you guys. From state control of the police, which I think will actually, I don't think that's a good way to do things. Like if they try to take over the Portageville Police Department, we'd all get the guns out and be shooting at the state at the city limit. But I think in the short term, it's going to help. I think the governor owns this now. The governor owns crime in St. Louis, which is the hardest, most complex problem I think there is in the state. I think then you had a new mayor. I'm not a Tashara hater. I like Tashara very much. I hold her in high regard. But I think folks wanted to change. What they're doing is not working. They made a clear, concerted effort to do something different. I think that's going to Donna Behringer. Anytime you get Donna Behringer involved in something, that's a plus. She's one of the more driven, talented women I know. Then you look at some of the things they're doing at Greater St. Louis. That organization was a joke. We all made fun of the freaks and clowns. It was just this woke menagerie of lunacy, and it was super unsuccessful. It was a total failure. They've torn that down. They hired a guy named Tim Brinker from your neck of the woods, Freedom Love in Franklin County, just south of you. I think Tim Brinker was a statement by them that, hey, we're getting serious. I think that was a great move. Then they brought in a guy named Jeff Mazer, a real visionary, a guy that you watch. You start putting enough Jeff Mazers involved in anything, and it's going to get better. And I mean,
I would agree. Any Jeff would make it better.
There you go. Any Jeff, except for Knight, obviously. Not Knight, but any other Jeff, you'd be good. I think if you look at St. Louis, though, as Governor Kehoe said, if you smart people buy low, sell high, and I think there's certainly a buy low, sell high. You're buying low in St. Louis now, right? And so I think that the right ingredients are coming together to where I think you could make a credible argument that there's a path forward for St. Louis that I'm not sure has always existed in my professional lifetime.
And let's face it, someday the Cardinals are going to be good again.
Oh,
and we want to be safe when we go watch the Cardinals play.
Right now, I wish they just let the Bullets fly. It is the worst time in the history. I've never been so pessimistic. I think they just totally quit. I think that the owner I get, you give a guy an extra year and whatever, he's given an extra half a decade of failure and misery and awful. To me, St. Louis, that is a baseball town with a city, not a city with a baseball town. I mean, without the Cardinals, they're just Cairo with an arch. I mean, it's just a ghetto hellhole without the Cardinals. And the fact that we're so awful, here's the thing, when they extended Marmol, so you come in last place, right? Last. You can't do any worse than last. You come in last place, last, no worse than last. And then you say, oh, 2-year extension. That is an organizational embrace of failure. And I think every employee, from the secretary to the minor leagues to every player, goes, oh, so we can suck and we just get more money? And it's the truth. I think that look, no one was going to hire Ollie Marmol. No one's even going to interview that guy. No one even wanted it. He's just a yes man. He was mowing the grass or something. I said, oh, we're going to fire him. And I don't blame him. If I was mowing the grass and he said, hey, you want to be manager? I'd be like, hell yeah, dude. I don't see any way until you have a fundamental change of the organization that it turns around. I just think there has been an embrace, and not just an embrace. Now they're defensive about failure. And so now they're excusing it and coming up with more and more idiotic reasons that all suck. And it is really, if there was an eighth circle of hell, we'd be in it right now.
And I know where we're from, the Cardinals are king. I mean, going back generations and generations.
Well,
but
you live north of the river.
Yeah,
Oh, so you're a Cardinal fan too, then, right?
No.
I always thought Royals fans stopped at Blue Springs and Liberty. Was about as far north as any Royals fans were.
Honestly, I don't even like baseball. I know. Yeah.
Well, if I grew up in Royals territory, I wouldn't like baseball.
Well, with that, we're going to end this show.
I got one more question, Jeff, real quick.
Sure.
Hogs, dogs, and logs. I know you like to
Oh,
talk
I
that.
love that. Yep.
This is hard-hitting journalism we do here, but greatest wrestler of all time. I know you and Gussie are huge fans.
Went to WrestleMania. Oh, you want to hear a story? It was, the whole weekend was fun. We met Mike Tyson. We met Kevin Nash and Kurt Angle and all these dudes. And the first night was fun. We were doing the yeet and all that.
Yeah.
And I watched wrestling with Hulk Hogan. Then I kind of quit. Then in college, you had Stone Cold and The Rock and all that. And I watched it in college. And then I just quit. And then, to me, if a white rapper can beat someone up, this is not worth watching. And so the John Cena stuff, I just wasn't for. So we go, and then the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes' son, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is now the main event of WrestleMania, baby. And so we go, and my son loves Cody Rhodes. That's his man. So we go, and it's everything's fun. I mean, it is a spectacle. It's a great event. And John Cena defeats Cody Rhodes and Gussie. And the funny part is, like a lot of Make-A-Wish kids are Cena fans. He did a bunch of Make-A-Wish things. So we're sitting by this kid who's wearing the wristbands of Cena and the T-shirt, the hat, and the head, sweatband. And Gussie has his Cody Rhodes T-shirt on, but he's not going to go he's not going to do all the other stuff. And Gussie's talking smack the whole night. He's like, George sucked. And then he'd be like, Eminem was the only good white rapper, which is all factual statements. And this kid's whining to his mom, and I'm just so proud as a dad. And I was like, son, just don't turn over and do it. Just shout directly forward. I mean, these tickets are expensive. Say what you want. And then Cena won. And Gussie just collapsed into my arms. I'm like, the rest of this trip was ruined. Thank you, Vince McMahon, for screwing me over. I appreciate that. But it went from the top of the mountain to the bottom. I obviously Hulk Hogan's got a soft spot in my heart because I was a kid. I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes is always fun. But I don't know how you get around saying the best wrestler of all time isn't Ric Flair. I mean, to this day, you go to a ballpark and most woo, and everybody else will go woo, and I don't know how I just think the GOAT is Ric Flair, and I love Stone Cold and I love Hulk Hogan, but I just kind of feel like the GOAT's Flair. I mean, what do you? We should vote on that.
I would agree.
And Ashley Baxter still whoop his ass.
I would have to go with Ric Flair too. I grew up in that era watching.
And see, when I was a kid, I was a bigger Hulk Hogan fan. But Ric Flair was never like my favorite wrestler. But looking back, I just don't know how you deny the cultural impact. And immediately, when you say a Ric Flair catchphrase, like the kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, jet flying, limousine riding, son of a gun, you know exactly who that is, and that's a rare thing in culture, not just wrestling. I think.
That's right.
Well, as always, we will put pictures like this great one right here.
That's so.
These will be at the end of the show.
That's me after a Cardinals loss. I'm as mad as Gussie was on Sunday night. That was a quiet flight home. He was pissed. He's still pissed off.
Well, thank you again for joining us.
Oh, yeah.
today.
Thanks so much.
It was
so much.
great to have
We
you.
will see you next week with another new guest.
See you next week. We'll see you next week.